Reclusive millionaire Oliver Hazard Payne was as wealthy as he was mysterious. The quiet treasurer of Standard Oil who built mansions along Manhattan's Fifth Avenue for his siblings, yet he never married and avoided the spotlight at all costs. Hi everyone, Ken here. Hit that subscribe button and let's explore this house. In 1839, Oliver Hazard Payne was born into an influential family in Cleveland. His father Henry was a prominent businessman turned politician, eventually a U.S. senator, and his mother Mary was from the distinguished Perry family. Raised with privilege, young Oliver attended Phillips Academy, Andover, and Yale University, but his comfortable student life was cut short by the outbreak of the Civil War. He left Yale in 1861 to join the Union Army as a fresh lieutenant and proved an able soldier. By age 24, he had risen to colonel of the 124th Ohio Infantry, leading his regiment through some of the war's fiercest battles. In one battle, he sustained an injury so severe that rumors later whispered the bullet might have removed his manhood, possibly explaining why he never had children. After the war, Oliver returned home a decorated veteran with a $20,000 gift from his father to launch his career. In 1865, he co-founded Clark Payne & Company in Cleveland, which by the early 1870s had grown into the city's second-largest oil refinery. The only bigger competitor was run by a young John D. Rockefeller, a former schoolmate of Payne's who was rapidly consolidating the petroleum trade. In 1872, Rockefeller approached Payne with a proposition to join forces. Facing a downturn and tough competition, Payne agreed to sell his refinery to Rockefeller for $400,000, but that deal wasn't in cash. Instead, he astutely took payment in Standard Oil's stock. At just 33 years old, Oliver suddenly became the third-largest shareholder of Standard Oil. He was appointed its first treasurer, a post he held for over a decade, helping manage the growing empire's finances. By the early 20th century, Colonel Payne had become one of the richest men in America, reportedly Standard Oil's single largest stockholder as the trust neared its peak. By 1910, his annual dividends were estimated at $5 million, the modern equivalent of over $170 million per year. Payne's business influence did not stop at oil. He teamed up with tobacco magnate James B. Duke in the 1890s to finance the creation of the American Tobacco Company Trust, at one point becoming the industry's largest shareholder as well. He held major stakes in railroads and in steel manufacturing, notably the Tennessee Coal Iron and Railroad Company. And during the Panic of 1907, he played a behind-the-scenes role in the deal brokered by J.P. Morgan to fold that company into U.S. Steel, helping avert a wider market collapse. Despite amassing enormous wealth, Oliver Payne led a relatively private and unostentatious personal life. He never married, however, he was deeply devoted to his family. He even introduced his sister Flora to his Yale classmate William C. Whitney, and the match was a success. As an extravagant wedding gift, Oliver built the couple a house on Manhattan's Fifth Avenue and endowed them with $1 million in capital, an immense sum in the 1870s. Flora's children became like Oliver's own. Tragically, Flora passed away in 1893, and when William Whitney married a few years later, Oliver was incensed, seeing it as a slight to Flora's memory. He cut off contact with his former friend, and in an unusual twist, essentially adopted two of Flora and Whitney's children, Payne Whitney and Pauline Whitney, raising them as his own. By 1909, Oliver was in his 70s and one of the wealthiest retirees in America, and that's when he decided to create his dream estate. That year, 70-year-old Payne purchased an old Astor family property in what was then West Park, New York, across the Hudson from the Vanderbilt mansion in Hyde Park. He raised the Astor's 1850s house on the site to make way for something far more magnificent. Payne commissioned the renowned New York architects Carrère and Hastings to design his country home. What they created was essentially a Renaissance Italian palazzo transported to the Hudson Valley. The project was monumental. From 1909 to 1911, a workforce of 400 laborers swarmed over the grounds to construct the mansion. Payne was a demanding client with a clear vision. He insisted the building be clad in elegant, cream-colored French limestone, despite his architect's warnings that the stone might not withstand upstate New York's harsh winters. The colonel's response was characteristically unsentimental. He supposedly retorted that it didn't matter if the stone deteriorated in 20 years because, quote, "in 20 years I'll be dead." Sure enough, within a few decades, the limestone began to crumble, vindicating the architect's concerns. But that's getting a bit ahead. The finished mansion, completed in 1911, was enormous and breathtaking. It encompassed about 42,000 square feet, with over 40 rooms arranged around the Grand Central Courtyard. Inside, the central air-open courtyard was Omega's showpiece, an enclosed piazza featuring a sparkling fountain and arched loggias adorned with classical frescoes of the Muses and Pegasus. The sunny courtyard brought a slice of the Mediterranean to the Hudson shore, though in winter it famously filled with snow, sometimes several feet deep. much to the chagrin of Payne's domestic staff. Every inch of Omega's interior spoke of luxury and worldliness. Payne spared no expense in decoration, importing old European craftsmanship and treasures. The walls of the main rooms were paneled in rich Circassian walnut, with others in tooled leather and even ebony inlaid with gold tracery. Sumptuous silk wall coverings, some reportedly hand-painted in Japan, and heavy brocaded draperies adorned the rooms, and twin grand marble fireplaces anchored the expansive living hall. The Colonel filled these salons with his personal art collection, old master paintings by Rubens and Turner, Ming Dynasty porcelains, European tapestries, bronze sculptures, and marble busts, all acquired through famed art dealer Joseph Devane. The result was a veritable museum of fine art under one roof, a museum he would only enjoy for a short while. In June 1917, as World War I raged in Europe, Colonel Payne's storied life quietly came to an end, passing away in his New York City residence on Fifth Avenue at the age of 77. Payne's will and estate were as carefully engineered as his business deals. He divided his $32 million fortune primarily among his nieces and nephews. The Colonel did not forget loyalty either. He left large sums to senior members of his staff, ranging from his secretary to the captain of his yacht. Also in his will, he left the entire Omega estate of 645 acres, house and land, to his nephew Harry Payne Bingham. In 1933, Harry donated the entire estate to the Episcopal Diocese of New York, but by the early 1940s, they unloaded the mansion to the Catholic Marist brothers. The Marists converted the mansion into a training school for young brothers. In doing so, they made a few alterations befitting a religious institution. By the late 1980s, maintaining the aging mansion was a heavy financial burden for the Marist order. The limestone facade was crumbling, so in 1986, the Marist brothers sold the Omega mansion to Raymond Rich. Upon purchase, he found the once grand house in a state of neglect, a wreck after decades of institutional use, but Rich had both the passion and the funds to restore it. Over the 1980s and 1990s, he invested heavily to return the mansion to its former glory. He removed the unsightly siding used to patch holes and repaired the original limestone, refurbished the interiors, and filled the rooms with fine art and antiques, much as Payne had done generations before. In a poetic full circle, Rich's will bequeathed the fully restored estate back to Marist, not the brothers this time, but Marist College. Along with the property, valued at around $65 million, Rich endowed a $10 million fund to create the Raymond A. Rich Institute for Leadership Development at the college. Today, the once private mansion hosts conferences, leadership seminars, and guest speakers under the stewardship of Marist University. And with that, I'll turn it over to you. What did you think about Omega? Let me know down below in the comments section. My goal for this year is to reach 1 million subscribers, so if you are among the 1 to 2 million monthly viewers who are not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button so we can reach this goal together. As always, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time on This House.